Today is the 10th annual Giving Tuesday. The day was created as a way to encourage
We stand here in America for freedom, and therefore we stand with people fighting for freedom. And one useful signal might be that we could send is ending our own ongoing coronavirus emergency as a self-evident contrast to the dictatorial lockdown we're seeing in China backfire so immensely.
U.S. Representative Mike Gallagher from the state of Wisconsin talking about what's happening in China. I don't know if you've had a chance to glimpse at the TV over the past 24, 48, 72 hours, but man, the people of China are getting out there and they're saying these COVID lockdowns are insane. Right now, they're building some more of those tent cities. This is where they went and they rounded people up and they locked them away during the COVID thing, so they didn't spread it. Which is it's just insane that is happening. And I love what Representative Gallagher said there. Why don't we end some of our stuff to show that we're not like that? That's insane. That's what's happening in China this morning. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to be joined. Brian Houseworthy is going to be joining us in a courtroom yesterday, first court hearing regarding this double homicide in Jefferson City. And, it's these things, and I don't know what it's like for other folks, but like when maybe you don't know people involved in a story, but in such a tight-knit community like Jefferson City and that downtown community, which Stephanie Bell, she headed up the downtown committee thing for a lot of years. But when you know these people involved, whether directly or indirectly, it's beyond a news story at that point.
Yeah, it's really impacted the downtown community. I've seen, just tons of outpouring of support for the local businesses and love for the folks involved. Like I said, I think several businesses were closed the night after the shooting. And I know a lot of folks this week are kind of donating their own tips, and the bartenders are kind of coming together to support the family of Skylar Smock.
Yeah. Houseworth, yesterday, what else did we learn?
Well, John Marsh and I happened to be at the Cole County Courthouse for a regularly scheduled meeting with some judges and the media, so we were already down there. Basically, I picked up the court documents, and also the arraignment was very short. It was a very short arraignment via video.
It was video, so he didn't come into the courtroom.
Correct. It was via video. And to be clear, I was upstairs getting the court documents while that was going on. It was a very quick arraignment. Apparently, he tried to interrupt the judge based on what I read in the a news account from Erica McGuire. You really can't speak when a judge is this is simply the judge reading the charges. He more or less was trying to say it was self-defense, which we can touch on the court documents. But the big thing is the court documents are very they're very graphic. Basically, you would ask the question, how many people were in there? And it says in the court document there were several dozen patrons that were in that restaurant that night. It also says, Brandon, that after the suspect, this is what they quote multiple witnesses as saying, after the suspect, Damian Davis, shot the two men, that he walked past their bodies and had a smirk on his face. That's a direct quote from the court document as he walked past their bodies. He is going to claim it's some sort of self-defense.
If this is one of those cases that eventually, let's say it goes to the death penalty's up for consideration. By the way, there is an execution happening in Missouri today, one of the stories we were covering on. But if I were on that jury and we were considering the death penalty or whatever, I would say, oh, wait. After he shot one of the dudes at point-blank range, then he smirked. And then, according to the probable cause statement, and I'll just read verbatim here. This is probable cause statement. Davis, he is the guy who is charged.
Damian Davis.
Said he was sorry for victim number one's family, but not sorry for victim number two's family. And the smirk on his face, that'd take me 10 seconds to decide. Yep, death penalty because you smirked.
In Brandon, you've got the court document that I picked up and got to you. If you go a couple of sentences above that, where he's talking in there about how he feels bad he didn't mean to shoot Smock. In the few sentences above it says that he put the gun.
He stepped right up to the back of his head.
Yes.
Right?
And also there were multiple other shots that were fired. Other people could have been hit based on the court document. The other thing that's significant about that is you have multiple witnesses, and the witness accounts, according to the court documents, match the whole thing's caught on surveillance. It also says that some of the things he said to the police did not match up.
Now, John, let me ask you, your reporter hat aside, and I know you've been practicing journalism for over 30 years here in mid-Missouri, but personally, how does this story strike you? Deep ties here in town, how does that strike you? Mm.
Did we learn any more about what this man's tie to Jefferson City was?
The John, and I can talk about that. And Branden has the court document. I think this is significant. And actually, it's my lead sentence in the next newscast. It says the only reason he was in the capital city, this is directly what he said, the only reason he was even there to begin with is due to the holidays, that his permanent residence is in Kansas City. But they do not elaborate on that. So without it's very unusual. This guy has all his ties are to Kansas City, lives in Kansas City. I'm not sure if he's got family, but his crimes, because he's committed other crimes, if you look at his record, whatever he's doing in Kansas City, the crimes seem to be being committed in Cole County. But I don't know, and I can't tell from the court documents why that would be in what he would have been doing here. Perhaps it's family, friends, I don't know. But he said the only reason it was here is because of the holidays.
By the way, what were you and John already doing? What were you and Brian already doing in the courtroom yesterday, Mark?
Yeah, and why didn't you call me up? I was there. I gave Branden a look. I was there too, and I'm thinking, where were you all? I was over there.
Yeah.
Okay. I must have just missed you.
We must have just missed you. It was something set up by the Missouri Broadcasters Association. It's kind of about press access and in cameras in the courtroom and in things like that. It was really good. A lot of it is for more reporters about ethics and just, you can't take pictures of jury. It's, I think, very important, and some questions were asked too. I really appreciate Judge Beadham and Judge Jacobs talking about it, and Judge Jacobs talked about how he has to go from Boone to Callaway County. So it was good, and it was a good event. I almost missed part of it because I got caught in that terrible accident down on Highway 63. There was a terrible accident, somebody seriously injured, and there was debris on the road and everything. But yeah, it was a good event, and I'm glad the judges did that.
Well, and I think that's so important there in Cole because they hear so many cases of high importance. And I was upstairs, and there was a camera crew in the in one of the courtrooms, and we should get to this, but they're, I guess, challenging the law that outlaws homelessness. So remember that bill that we talked about? And that was in court for the first time yesterday, and there were some reporters there with cameras.
Very
interesting. A couple of lawsuits. They're being tied together in a case within the Cole County Circuit Court. And this attorneys for the plaintiffs are targeting the law on grounds that specific provisions in question has little to do with political subdivisions. But basically it says if you're sleeping, hanging out in places like out in public, they're saying it criminalizes it. One of the things that we are going to be covering later this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, Mr. Brian Houseworth is here.
It's good to see you.
John, good to see you, bud. There's Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
And it's good to see you, too.
Hey,
Brian, good to see you. Hey, John. Hey, buddy, how are you? Stephanie's here. Glad you were here.
I am feeling so slighted, and you come to my county, my courthouse, and you don't even call me up.
Dissed me, man. Producer Hannah is here.
Stephanie, they even went to lunch afterwards.
What?
I wasn't part of it, Steph.
I was really
was not part of it. 874-9390. My name is Branden Rathert. You can reach out and text us 874 93.90. So in China, what's happening there? Protesters, they're holding up blank pieces of paper protesting what the Chinese government is doing there. It's insane. One of the things that we are covering this morning here on the show. Christopher Arps hanging out with us. 6:35 might get his take on the Thanksgiving dinner. It's thinking about this. It's kind of odd when Trump has a dinner over the Thanksgiving weekend, and like he wasn't the most problematic guy at the table. And this is from an ardent Trump supporter. This is following his dinner with Kanye West and Nick Fuentes, who's this white supremacist. It's like Donald Trump was probably the least controversial of the three people at the table. But we will get Christopher Arps' take and maybe some names floating out there for a run at the Missouri governor's spot. Of course, we've heard Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft, and the clout that the Ashcroft names bring. And it's not just about the name. Jay Ashcroft, he does a solid job. Maybe some other names. We'll talk about that with Christopher Arps. Meanwhile, how exciting is this for the young, lovely couple, Patrick and Brittany, giving birth to another baby?
Patrick didn't give birth.
Well, it's a couple. We give birth, right?
Oh, boy.
Isn't that what they say? We gave birth. We had a
There you
baby.
go.
It's awfully sexist, you girls.
I didn't say anything.
As the only person in this circle that has actually given birth, no one else can claim credit for that. But Brittany.
Yeah, she wins that one, John. They gave birth to their second child.
Yeah, his name is Patrick Mahomes III, and they're calling him Bronze. And the topic of discussion in the studio this morning before we went live was if Bronze is a part of his actual name or if it is his nickname. Anybody have any clues? Because Brandon and I were arguing about it.
So I'm going with Bronze on this. I don't know.
As his name or his nickname?
As his nickname, and maybe people will call him that, but here's why. Because he's the third Patrick Mahomes, right? There's Patrick Mahomes' dad, there's Patrick, and now him. So Bronze, third place, right?
Which is kind of funny because they have a dog named Silver. So
Ooh.
they put their child. Well,
Yikes.
so their oldest child's name is Sterling.
And they have a goat named Frankincense.
Oh, Lord.
Chicken named Myrrh. Christmas song references. All right.
The more famous you are, the weirder you name your children. Is that right?
But it's not weird because you have money. It's eccentric.
There you go.
If you're poor and broke, if you're regular folk like us, it's weird. Yeah, you're crazy.
I understand, where the Bronze nickname came from, but when your dog is named Silver, you're putting your child behind your dog. Right?
Dog stand in second place. A little Bronzy, third place. Welcome into the show. We are so glad that you are here. Coming up, Daily DC Rundown. What's happening underneath the circus tent in DC this morning, Steph?
Well, we're feeling the effects of the lack of the red wave. Basically, our only hope
This is an opportunity to highlight a foundational component of this administration's approach to foreign policy, and that's through alliances. France is a vital global partner and, of course, the United States' oldest ally.
That's John Kirby, National Security Council, talking about Biden's... You know, we try, Stephanie, we try to be really nice and really fair, but what happens whenever Biden packs up his suitcase and puts on his dunce cap and travels across the seas? We get scared. It's like, you know, when your kid gets up to bat for the first time in Little League ball and you get nervous. That's what it's like every time Biden goes abroad. That's getting us into today's Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie Bell.
And Biden is staying put, and instead, French President Emmanuel Macron is headed to Washington for his first visit during the presidency. During the Biden presidency, normally this would have occurred before, but because of COVID, right, it's taken a little bit. Also, if you recall, there was a little bit of a riff. And you know when you kind of got like some beef with somebody and you're not really getting along, but then like a bigger, badder bully comes along and you both agree to hate that guy and you're like, all right, we're good now. That's kind of where America and France are. So last year, Macron recalled France's ambassador over the deal to sell nuclear submarines to Australia. We had a little bit of riff, but now France is like, hey, we all got to deal with this Russia-Ukraine thing. And, you know, we're a lot closer over here and we need your help, basically. And so we're aligned on that. That's supposed to be basically the main agenda item for the meeting. They're also going to talk about Iran's nuclear program, China, obviously, just their increasing assertiveness, and then also Africa's security stability.
And then today, USA and Iran playing in World Cup. I think it's a must-win. I don't follow World Cup soccer. It's a knockout. Yep. It's a must-win game for the United States team.
Also today, the Senate is supposed to vote on to protect same-sex marriage. If you recall, they had to do the 60 threshold vote a couple weeks ago to get it to this point. It's expected to pass. I think last time, was it 12 Republicans that had voted to get it over the threshold? So bipartisan. Again, it won't require states to legalize gay marriage, but it will require states to recognize all marriages that were legal where they were performed, and then protect current same-sex unions. It also protects interracial marriages, so that is on the list. We have very little hope in passing. Well, we don't have any hope of passing anything on the Republican priority list, but we can control the committees, which means we can conduct investigations. The House Judiciary Committee.
We got that going for us.
Right. The House Judiciary Committee and the House Oversight Committee are two where we expect those investigations to occur. House Oversight we expect it will be led by Representative James Comer. We expect that committee to house the Hunter Biden investigations. And then also Representative Jim Jordan of Ohio. It will be leading the House Judiciary Committee. And there they think it's going to cover like border investigations. So all of the talking about, Mayorkas and his role, that could be an investigation. They could potentially investigate the FBI search of Mar-a-Lago. Also on his list are the origins of COVID.
So there's a lot there. Should keep the Republican-controlled House a little busy. By the way, Democrat member of the U.S. House of Representatives, Donald McKeegan, he died 61 years old, colon cancer. Coming up, Christopher Arps is here. We'll look at Missouri politics. Who are some names potential? Okay, so we know Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, running for governor, Jay Ashcroft. What are some other names out there? Arps is here 5 minutes from now on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Hi, I'm Becky Arps, and I am so excited that you get to experience a bit of the thoughts I hear every single day. Enjoy.
There he is, Christopher Arps.
CHRI.
Website, chrisarps.com. Did I get it right this time?
You did, and that was some pretty intense music Hannah came in with, that hard metal there for 6:30 in the morning.
Hannah's a big fan of the group called Godsmack.
Yeah, I can name like one of their songs.
Incidentally, when I was coming through St. Louis last Tuesday, as I was listening to your show, I thought you could use some music like that on your show. Welcome into
Wow.
He doesn't come on your show and tell you how to do things.
Exactly, and they don't need that on my show because our morning guy is a metal rocker, and they play a lot of metal rock on his show.
Yeah,
We're covered.
Actually,
Wow.
last Tuesday when I was on my way to St. Louis, got to listen to you fill in on the Gary Nolan show, man. You hit it out of the park, as always.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah,
It was an
absolutely.
honor to sit in for him, and I appreciate the Zimmer Radio Network for allowing me to do that. It's a real honor.
Gary Nolan hosts the Gary Nolan Show weekday mornings, 9 o'clock here on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. Stephanie Pell, John Marsh, Brian Houseworth, producer Hannah. My name is Branden Rathert. I want to start here because everything, and I don't think I've ever maybe a passing dealing with this guy. The guy who is going to be the Missouri Attorney General, Andrew Bailey, Stephanie's familiar, John Marsh had. So everybody we've talked to, pretty consistent in what they're saying. Like this guy, he's, I guess, not super political. He's in that political realm, but not super political. And one of the things that I have appreciated so far is that he's not going into the Attorney General's office. I'm going to continue every single thing that the previous AG did. He's saying, I'm going to go in and look. And then I'll determine with my leadership what I want to do. What are you hearing about Andrew Bailey, Governor Parsons' appointment for the Attorney General's office?
Well, I think that's a good tone for Andrew Bailey to set, that he's going to be his own man. He's going to have his own priorities, but I think he's probably going to follow pretty much basically what Eric Schmidt said. I don't think there's going to be much change in that. The governor set him up beautifully for a run at this. He's going to be the incumbent for the next couple of years. That gives him advantage with fundraising as well. And what we talked about last week, the AG position is an excellent position. If you are wanting to run for statewide office in another office, you're able to put press releases out every single day saying that you stop this, you stop that, you're helping Missouri citizens with this. So it's a good opportunity for Mr. Bailey.
And here's what I'm loving about this so far. I think the dominoes are falling perfectly into place because when you're Attorney General, you stay in the office for a little bit, and then you move on to the Senate. So in 2024, Josh Hawley runs for and wins the Republican nomination for President of the United States. Hawley becomes president. Andrew Bailey, U.S. Senate 2024. You liking the ring of that?
Ooh, I'm dizzy with all those machinations. Let's take it one step at a time and let him be Attorney General for a little while and see if he's going to run for a full term and see where that lands, Branden.
All right, Christopher.
Slow down.
I know. I'm thinking way too. It's a rarity that I'm thinking that far ahead, actually. So I take full advantage of it whenever I have the opportunity to do it. What about, so we know, what's some of the name, 2024 Governor, Steph? We got some of the Kehoe, Ashcroft.
Lieutenant Governor Mike Kehoe, Secretary of State Jay Ashcroft. I know the other name that I've heard out there is Bill Eigel. He has been raising a lot of money. I've heard rumblings like he might get into the governor's race. Maybe he's running for something else statewide. And there's a lot of.
I have some news for you guys. Bill Eigel has declared he is running for governor. He put out a new logo a couple of weeks ago, and I asked my radio partners, former Speaker Tim Jones, who has a close relationship with him, is Bill Eigel in the governor's race? And he said yes, he is in. Mike Kehoe is in. Really, basically, we just need the third participant, which is Jay Ashcroft, and then we'll have probably our field, our Republican field.
Now, it was interesting because you said, Whenever we mention the name, you seem kind of like.
Don't read too much into it. Don't read too much into it.
All right. Bill Eigel was the guy during the battle earlier this year in the legislative session. Bill Eigel, he's a state lawmaker, St. Louis, St. Charles area, and this is when they were having that pissing match with Senate Majority Leader Caleb Rowden and his I mean, like the receptionist at the worldwide headquarters for the Zimmer radio group was coming to my desk saying, there's somebody from a Bill Eigel's office. I've tried to put him through to your voicemail. They were demanding that I have never, ever professionally ever experienced anything like it. Was incredibly, it was just bizarre. What about, what's the other name out there? Is there Scharf?
Yeah, Will Scharf. I'm hearing him for Attorney General. It was very coincidental that, or not Attorney General. What?
Yeah, that's right.
It's all of these musical chairs and offices. I'm getting confused. But he was a U.S. Assistant U.S. Attorney, and he resigned that position before Andrew Bailey was announced. So it looks like he may be running for something. What office are we talking about today? For AG? For running for that?
Yeah.
I'm serious. I am confused.
The speculation is that Will Scharf, and then the other name is potentially Tony Luetkemeyer, could put up and he's from Kansas City, could put up a primary challenge against Andrew Bailey in the primary.
What about a name that I'm hearing? She is on the radio now. She's really expanded her reach. Young lawyer, up and coming lawyer named Stephanie Bell from Ashland.
Right, and her business is firing on all cylinders, and her clients desperately need her to provide them with representation.
Listen, her clients, Christopher, John, her clients weren't the only ones saying, please don't go to Attorney General, because the bigger issue for me then is if Stephanie Bell had been appointed, and there was ink splashed on this. By the way, this isn't us funning. This was like serious stuff, okay, just so you know. And it gives you an idea of Stephanie's political acumen. But what worried me about that is because, as we know, the Attorney General's office is a stepping stone to U.S. Senate. We've proven this with our last two Attorney Generals. And that was what worried me. I didn't want Stephanie. I know she'd still be here in mid-Missouri when she would eventually go to the Senate, as some of our attorneys general have done in the past. And I don't want Stephanie to leave mid. I kind of like her.
Well, a lot of these folks have, we look at the fields of people, right? And it's really, and I think, when you're speaking more broadly about other candidates, a candidate here, John Martin, if you're in business and you have to transition over to the political world, that is a life-changing, altering thing. A lot of the folks that we're talking about and that we often talk about are folks who've either been in a government job, who aren't responsible for other people's jobs, right? Or who've been in politics their whole life. So it's easy for them to hop from those kinds of things. It's a much harder decision when you're an actual business person, right? And most of the time, I would rather vote for a business person, right? I tend to like the treasurer, right? This Scott Fitzpatrick, he kind of got plucked out of business into politics, but yeah. So I guess our soon-to-be auditor. Go ahead, Chris.
And Brandon, and I won't speak for Stephanie, but I think Stephanie also doesn't want to take the major pay cut she'd have to take to go to the AG's office. I think that may play a role in there as well.
I am very excited for Andrew. I know him. I think he's going to do a great job, and yeah, I'm. It's going to be good. I think I know a lot of the folks over there at the Attorney General's office, and it does, when all these elections are going on, it creates some uncertainty. So for all of my friends over there who, are just like, what's going to happen? I can't imagine waking up every day and thinking, I don't know who my boss is going to be necessarily. That creates uncertainty. And so for that office, I'm excited for everyone who works over there and for Andrew and for the future of that office.
Our guest is Christopher Arps, ChrisArps.com. Since you're listening to Wake Up Mid-Missouri, I know you are going to like his website, ChrisArps.com. You see him on Newsmax TV all the time. Chris hanging out with us this morning here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
Well, here's my thing. Hey, Hannah, do you have a cricket sounder there you can play? Because that's what I'm hearing regarding any Democrat that wants to run for governor. Democrats don't have a deep bench as we've seen, and I literally haven't heard anyone.
Have you heard anything more about this Lucas Kuntz guy? I mean, before Trudy Bush Valentine dropped in, he seemed to be raising money, but then, I mean, he went totally MIA after he lost to her, right?
I think he did. I think she basically just outspent him, and all you saw her commercials were on the airwaves. I think Lucas Kuntz was the type of Democrat that could maybe win here in Missouri. He's in the military. He is not as far progressive left as his party is. It'd be an uphill battle to win in Missouri, but he's more in line with Missouri Democrats than with his national party. Did I say something funny? You laughing at me, Brandon?
No, I'm laughing at Hannah and Stephanie, who are laughing at you.
I know what you guys are laughing at.
All right, stop it, everybody. Don't make me be the
I
adult.
played it off, though, didn't I?
You did.
Did I play it off, though? Okay.
You know what we were laughing about before you came on air, though, Chris?
What's that?
Brandon tried to give me some random person's phone number to call you.
Oh, yeah.
At 6:30 in the morning.
Who has in your area code?
Yeah.
Are you?
Don't
hang
give-
on.
I'm not gonna give the full number. In your area code,
Sure.
last 4 digits though, 3104. I've got this. I didn't even miss your number by a number. Like I got it all wrong except for the area
That's
code.
not even close. That's not even close.
I have no idea.
It's a good thing I have Chris's number memorized.
Yeah.
How many
The
times?
last 4 digits of my phone is 8528.
Well, don't give your number out on air,
What
but
if-
I'm just wondering if you wake up
Yes.
and you're like, oh, I have a missed call. It must be important. It was from 6:30. Do you call it back?
Oh, no. If I don't recognize it, no.
It is so embarrassing, though, when I
trip.
call the wrong person this early in the morning because they're always angry. I'd be angry.
Well, then you say you're from a radio station, you give them 2 tickets or something, then it's okay.
And you tell them you're from the radio station across the street, not our radio station. How rude of us. We've been sitting here hanging out, and like a house guest, we're just talking about what we want to talk about. You got some things you want to talk about here in the next few minutes?
Well, yeah, I'm actually going to be flying out tomorrow,
Okay.
Becky and I, to Baton Rouge.
All right.
And we're having a press conference at the state capitol.
All right. Hold on. Let's find out what that's
Okay.
about.
All right.
If you can hang for
All
5
right.
minutes.
All right.
More with Christopher Arps. Chris.
right time. She's the right choice with a caring heart. She's a brand
It was a request off the text.
No, thank you.
All to see. Show me Missouri, show me Trudy.
I'm blocking the texter.
Stuart says, I miss Trudy's election song. And, well, actually, we kind of blame it on our good buddy here, Christopher Arps. Who brought up the name Trudy Bush Valentine? Was that you? Or was that Hannah?
You did.
I didn't bring it up.
Wasn't
as soon as
me.
she lost, I forgot. You
Was
brought
not
it up.
me.
Somebody brought up the name Trudy
I'm
Bush
fairly
Valentine.
certain it was you.
No.
Branden Rathert
Was
brought
it John?
It up.
John?
Rewind the tape.
Who? John!
I thought it was Branden.
No, it was Marsh, man. He brought up the name Trudy Bush Valentine, potential Dem running for governor in 2024. Trudy Bush Valentine. Stuart heard that. It's like Pavlov's dog. Anytime you mention the name anymore, we have to play what turned out to be the big, smash hit of the summer. By the way, has anybody heard? We got to I want to find out what Chris is doing before we move forward here in Louisiana. I wonder if Nicole Galloway is going to do anything still in the political arena, or if she's going to go into private, our state auditor. I wonder if she's going to do anything.
I think the reason that she didn't run for the office the first time is she saw the handwriting on the wall, and she wants to go out on top or as a winner. So I think she's done. Trudy Bush Valentine, I mean, you just lost the statewide race to pour another $20 million 2 years later in a losing effort. I don't see that happening, even though she's swimming in money.
You know what? Yeah. You know what?
Wasted.
So Chris Arps joining us here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri, 93.9 The Eagle, 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. What you doing in New Orleans?
Well, I'm the president of Americans for Citizens Voting, and as you know, we help citizens amend their state constitution to say that only citizens can vote. And this Thursday, I will be at a press conference at the state capitol in Louisiana, in Baton Rouge, doing a press conference. There's a vote scheduled for December 10th. That is their runoff date, but it is also the date that voters will vote to allow non-citizens to vote in their elections. And, one thing I love about doing this is I get to go to all these state capitals and visit them. This year I've been to Ohio and Michigan and Georgia and all these different state capitals. And, amazingly, they all look the same pretty much.
Yep. Whether it's
they really do.
Boise, Idaho, Jefferson City, Missouri, Tallahassee, Florida, Baton Rouge, Louisiana, they're pretty much it's like the old like old Bush Stadium and all the old concrete cookie cutter stadiums of the 70s.
Except I'm pretty sure the Capitol in Jefferson City won the award of most beautiful state capital in America.
I got to tell you something, man. Driving, especially at night, driving down Missouri Boulevard and seeing the Capitol, really any angle, but something about Missouri Boulevard, that it's open and you've got a great shot, and it's just amazing. When are we going to see you on Newsmax next?
This Thursday, I will be on 5:30, 6, and 7. And at the end of the month, Branden, I'm going to New York to visit my relatives, but I will be actually doing 2 TV hits in the studio in Newsmax in New York. So I'm really looking forward to that.
All right, very cool. Chris Arps, chrisarps.com. I'm telling you like his website. His wife Becky, she keeps she keeps pretty fresh. She does amazing work. Chris, we love you, man.
We love you. Have a great week.
All right. See you, bud. Coming up here on the show, coming up at 7 o'clock, the latest yesterday, John Marsh, Brian Houseworth in the courtroom doing some other things. Meanwhile, there's a hearing going on for the guy who has been accused in this double murder at Jay Finney's over the weekend, the latest on that. And then, Stephanie, I got to cover, I don't know if you've been following what's happening in China, but these lockdowns are just going crazy there. But the people in China getting out and protesting. The other thing that's been interesting is everybody has different takes on the validity of protest. Maybe some things we'll be looking into coming up at 7:10 here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS.
whole idea of being forgiven, you've got to start with acknowledging that there's something within you that you've done, said, or thought wrong. Kevin did that in the beginning. I knew from the beginning that I wasn't talking to someone who had no hope or no faith at all.
That is Reverend Daryl Gray. He is a spiritual advisor to Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson, 17 years ago. He was 19 years old at the time. Shot and killed Missouri Police Sergeant William McEntee. This was in Kirkwood, St. Louis area, back in 2005. He was 19 years old at the time. The guy was, not the cop. But this guy who is actually going to be executed tonight. And as we see with executions, people get together and say, well, this guy's turned his life around in prison. Or then there's the other argument like, hey, we just shouldn't be in the business of executing people. So this is happening tonight. But what was really interesting, he's got a daughter who wants to go see him executed tonight on terror. She can't. She's not allowed. The reason being, there's a law that says you have to be 21 years old to witness an execution, which I think is kind of odd.
But you can enter the military at a younger age and basically be obligated to kill people, right? Like to protect the country, and that be part of your job, right?
So
I mean, if you're going to be able to witness death at 18,
and kill people yourself.
Yeah, I mean, she's 19. And so, gosh, that law, I mean, the judge ultimately said it doesn't violate her constitutional rights to, uphold the law. And, while, I think it would be horrific to watch anyone die, for her, I think it's not about her. It's more about him. Like, would I want, my family member to know that they're not alone and that I'm with them in their final moments in whatever way that I could be.
That's interesting. I used to watch a show on MSNBC called Lockup. They used to follow these people in prisons. It's all real-life prison story stuff. But anyhow, and I can't remember, but there was a warden at some prison, high-profile prison somewhere in Louisiana, and he would allow family members to come in and watch. And why? Why do you let the executioners have their family? The people that are being executed, why do you allow them to have their families there? He says, it's not about them. It's about the family being able to come see him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, and I also covered this case in Kirkwood in 2005. I was at the Big 550 KTRS. I mean, I can tell you that outside of Mike Bush at Channel 5 and probably Andy Banker at Channel 2, there is almost no one left in St. Louis, maybe a handful of reporters at the Post-Dispatch who reported on this. This was just a high-profile case. This got a lot of attention. The officer, Johnson was upset about his younger brother dying, and it had to do. I believe it was a health issue. From my memory, it was a health issue, and he felt like the police did not get there quick enough. But Sergeant McEntee was shot 5 times. Governor points this out in his denial of clemency. McEntee was shot 5 times. He then tried to drive away and crashed into a tree, crashed, and then crawled out of the car. And Johnson is accused of shooting him 2 more times in the head. Those are the shots that killed him. So two points to what you were saying. Number one, the years I worked at the Department of Corrections and all the years at the Capitol, I have never, this statute that Stephanie's talking about is on the books. It's an old statute about you have to be 21. I've never heard it come up as an issue before. This is the first time. And I don't know if it's constitutional or not because they really were looking to have the daughter do it, but that statute, as I recall, passed in the 80s.
And you've witnessed an execution
Yes, I have.
here in Missouri.
In basically that was Mark Christensen down in Vichy, the triple homicide that he killed 2 small children and a mother. That was a horrible crime. He, and each one's different. There have been executions I have not been at that Bob Priddy has reported, the inmate struggled. I believe there was one in the mid-90s. The one I saw, he was given a lethal injection, and I saw him mouth "I love you" to a couple people that he was with, and eventually his eyes closed. But basically the argument that Johnson's attorney argued before the Missouri Supreme Court yesterday was very interesting. I'd not heard this argued before. They didn't argue whether he was innocent or guilty. They more or less admitted that he did it. But they are saying that the reason he is being executed in part is because he's black.
Race. Yeah.
It's race, and they are upset with Bob McCullough, the former prosecutor, but the Missouri Supreme Court rejected that, and so did the governor. So bottom line is, barring the U.S. Supreme Court or a federal judge, he will be executed tonight, barring intervention. That's not to say it won't happen, but it would, it'd take one judge to stop it on the U.S. Supreme Court. Then they'd probably have to get them convene the full court, or it could be a judge. But we'll see. But at this point, it is scheduled to take place.
This might be really dark. Hannah, let's say, digging way deep down in the what if barrel, because I've been thinking about this. Like, it's a weird scenario to think about.
Nervous.
I know, and you should be. Would you want to see your father execute? Let's say he was in prison and whatever. Well, obviously we know it's a scenario that would never happen, but do you think, I want to go see my father die? I want to go see him take his last few breaths for me. I wouldn't want to do it.
Not under those circumstances, no.
Yeah, I just wouldn't want to do it. And even when if he dies in his hospital bed, I hear I hear a lot of beautiful, very lovely, heartfelt stories about I was there and they took their last breath while I was holding my hand, and they. I don't even do well at funerals. I don't go up and look at the casket.
But I think too. I mean, I think that was me one of the hardest things about COVID was knowing that people were dying in the hospital by themselves without someone present. And so I think, regardless of whether you would want to see it, would you want to be the person who maybe made some serious mistakes, who felt like in your last moments you were alone and that you were dying alone? So from a kid's perspective, I think I would want to be there to make sure, even if I, didn't have a great relationship, to know that they weren't alone.
Yeah, and I don't know. Certainly you had a soundbite there with Darrell Gray, a very well-respected preacher in the St. Louis area. He's a minister. I did not realize he was his spiritual advisor. But, Johnson, bottom line is the Department of Corrections has a very strict protocol. Johnson will be probably with his spiritual advisor all day today. At some point right now, the inmates will get up and eat, but probably around noon, if the counties will deliver the inmates, probably the very early morning. That execution used to take place at midnight, at 6 o'clock. My gut feeling, and I don't know this, I'm not there anymore, probably 10, 11 o'clock this morning, they'll lock the prison down. The general population will be locked down, and Johnson will have access to his minister, in this case Gray, maybe others. He'll have access to his attorney, and his attorney, I'm sure, will file a flurry of paperwork, but he will. The daughter may not be able to be there, but he'll have other family members there. By the same token, there'll be media representatives there, and I'm sure McEntee, the police sergeant's family, if they choose to, they'll be there as well. They're separated. They won't even see each other. Yeah. The family, they take them out through different entrances. There's a ton of security at that event. I mean, it's basically, the prison is a fortress. It's a fortress.
One of the other things that I've heard anecdotally over the years is that whenever there is a prison where they do executions, no matter where it is in the country, there's kind of a pall over the entire prison that day.
That would be the case. And what's unusual about this is Johnson has been housed in Potosi. Now, they used to house them here locally in Jefferson City, but he's been housed in Potosi with the other capital punishment inmates. He would have only been in Bonne Terre, where he is now, maybe in the last week or so. They never announced that. But most of those inmates in Bonne Terre, unless they have been in the Potosi prison, may not even know him. They certainly know who he is, though. And there's about 2,000 inmates there. And you're right, it's going to be somber for them. But they will lock that down very soon. Yeah, the one I saw was, if there is such a thing, John, and I don't want to use the word routine, it was fairly routine. I mean, he mouthed, "I love you." There was a woman who was just sobbing uncontrollably. I still remember her in my head. I don't know who she was, a family member sobbing uncontrollably. I was sitting next to the Marys County Sheriff at the time, Chris Heitman. FBI agents were to my right. It was a dark room. I remember that. But I'm trying to remember, there was a 1995, there was Bob Pretty describes, there was something didn't go correctly, allegedly, and I wasn't there for that, but that did get a lot of attention, and his name, unfortunately, I think his name was Griffin. There was an issue there.
By the way, as far as, and in this execution that is scheduled to take place tonight, 6 o'clock, the 19-year-old daughter, you have to be 21, apparently, to go witness an execution. The judge apparently even saying, he says, "Listen, I know this probably isn't going to feel pleasant for you, but I'm not here to talk about your feelings. I'm here to talk about the aspects of the law. And right now the law says you got to be 21 to witness an execution." 874-9390. Chuck, welcome into the show. What are you thinking, man?
Well, I'm thinking, how hard could it be just to say, we already said he's guilty, he's been incarcerated all this time. Let's just postpone it 2 years so his daughter can be there when she's 21, if they're not willing to do anything else.
Man, Chuck, what a great take.
Well, that's interesting. That's, again, that's a policy question or more of a legal question, because right now, and the governor's taking criticism from some progressives on Twitter, but keep in mind, it wasn't the governor that sentenced Johnson to death. I mean, he had the ability. It was a jury in St. Louis County that sentenced him to death, and it was the Missouri Supreme Court. People don't realize this. It's the Missouri Supreme Court that sets execution dates. And the governor, basically his role is whether or not to grant clemency or not. So really the Johnson's running out of options here. He's going to have to hope for probably his best option is a federal judge somewhere along the line blocking it. But what that gentleman just suggested, holding it for 2 years, that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, it won't happen. And obviously, and that, by the way, that's one of the reasons that, because and I'm okay with the death penalty. I think now the money, it's more expensive for a death penalty because I don't want to house somebody for the remaining 35 years of their life and feed and bathe. Let's just execute them. Far more expensive to sentence and carry out a death sentence case than it is to keep somebody in prison for the rest of their lives.
Yeah, well, and I think one thing about the governor, though, I do think, I mean, we talk about him setting records with statewide appointments, but he might be, on pace to set records with his granting of clemency and commutations. One article is reporting that as of August of this year, he had approved 316 pardons and 18 commutations. And I know there was a big backlog, surprise.
Backlog going back to multiple governors. Correct, Stephanie, you're absolutely right. But one very important point about that, those are almost all nonviolent, bad checks, drugs. I mean, I go through those and I don't, there's no violence. Now, the gentleman who was sitting to my left that you had in, Brandon, he was on that list. Demetrius?
Demetrius Woods.
Demetrius Woods, motivated Michi.
I think he was on that. Now, they passed a bill, but the governor signed it. But yes, I think he was on the list.
Yeah,
again, non-violent.
But I think some of especially the last couple of days, have been kind of painting the governor in a light of not open to kind of the criminal justice reform movement. And I think he's been somebody who has taken it seriously and is reviewing these, rather quickly.
Jefferson City News Tribune had a great opinion piece. I think it was in yesterday's newspaper talking about the cost of expunging records. Kind of a different topic, but about forgiveness. John, I've got 30 seconds. What can we do for you, sir?
Well, I'd just like to say this guy that's being executed kind of has been setting himself up for this forever, and it was an execution, and the guy that was in Jeff City, who was at the bar, who just recently, last weekend, killed 2 people.
Yep.
I think they ought to take him down and let him witness the execution, too.
Man, John, thank you for the phone call. Thank you for being a part of Wake Up Mid-Missouri on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. Whew. Hannah to the rescue. I know this is heavy this morning. We're sorry, but it's happening in mid-Missouri. Just several different branches on this track. I thought it was interesting. The daughter being 19 years old, not able to see her father's execution tonight. So Hannah's coming to the rescue. What's hot with Hannah?
Velveeta mac and cheese.
7:25.
There's no good way to segue.
Ish.
Yeah.
Good morning, 727, which means actually it's 725-ish, which means it's
7:27.
Way to go, Rathert.
Come on.
Blew the punchline. Time for What's Hot with Hannah.
Stephanie might be able to help us out with this food lawsuit.
Uh-oh.
It involves Velveeta, shells, and cheese in the little Quick Mac cups. You know, you add a little bit of water, you pop it in the microwave. You have mac and cheese in like 5 minutes, right?
Those are the things that Walmart runs out of whenever all the college kids come back into town.
So this specific Velveeta shells and cheese cup advertises that it's ready in 3.5 minutes. Well, there is a lady from North Carolina who is upset because that is false advertising in her mind, and so she is suing Kraft, who owns the brand, for false advertisement, essentially. And she's suing them for $5 million over deceptive and fraudulent packaging.
How long does she say that it takes?
I guess it takes 3.5 minutes to microwave. So she's saying that the process to prep it for the microwave and then like letting it sit after you microwave it, that
Stir it up.
Yeah, that factors into the time. So saying 3.5 minutes isn't factual because it takes more prep.
No.
It's like when you eat a thing of ramen noodles. It's pretty easy. There's 3 steps. Step 1, heat water. Step 2, pour hot water into the noodles. Step 3, enjoy. There's that third, you have to enjoy, or it's like the shampoo. What's the shampoo? Wet hair, wash, rinse, repeat. But people really sue over crazy stuff like this.
I would think there would be like a lawsuit over like you say it's cheese, but we all like that powdered stuff is not actually anything.
The craziest thing is this lady has filed more than 400 lawsuits against food companies.
We would call her litigious.
Hey, watch your mouth, young lady. Media hypocrisy as it relates to China, and most of us will not be doing this between now and Christmas. Things we were working on for you before 8.
People might think that it's odd for an organization that's located out in Kingdom City to be participating in Como Gives, but we're participating because a majority of our clients come from the central Missouri area.
Deanna Barger, she's with Missouri Girls Town. So it's Giving Tuesday. It's kind of become a thing over the past several years, too. So you have Thanksgiving, and then you got the Black Friday, and then you got the Shop Local Saturday, and then you got Cyber Monday, travel. Every day of the week's got something with it, but this is kind of an important one.
And it's no longer every day of the week, because I was getting Black Friday emails like last Monday, and they're still like, guess what? Black Friday extended. That's not a Black Friday. That's like Black November is what we've got. I mean, I'm getting tons of emails Cyber Monday, but Giving Tuesday is really important. I know, we've got the university here in town. I know I get a lot of fundraising emails from universities and other charities who are just, looking to help people out. And it's a good reminder around the holidays. I like to, for people in my life who I can never decide what to give them, who have the people that you try to shop for and you're like, they have everything. A lot of times I like to make a donation in their honor and then give them a card that says, and I know that some people think that's cheesy.
What a crappy gift.
No, it's not.
I'm going to get that for Harper Lee, my little 5-year-old granddaughter. Look, Harper, Grandpa didn't get you a box of Twinkies, but he did. Or naming a star after somebody.
No,
whoever came up with that idea, there's got to be Elon Musk, Bill Gates, somebody like that.
I gave Chris a stone. So one year I donated some money to the golf course north of Jeff City that allows disabled veterans to play golf. Because my dad is a veteran and loves to play golf. So I thought, let's share the gift of golf with people who are important to you. I was adopted, so I've done some donating in that area. We did a stone for Chris at the Southern Boone Y, because that YMCA is going to benefit people forever. It really, I think if it's thoughtful and it matters to that person, that they will consider that it's a good thing.
I agree.
By the way, since we're all on the subject, everybody, for Christmas here on the show, John, Brian, Stephanie, I got y'all. I got stars, and I named them after you.
Very good.
We are stars.
I think, but regardless of whether you're giving a donation or a physical gift, I think, anybody can go give you a gift card. I think whether it's something, if it's personalized, I think it really matters, because if you're just like, here's a shirt, or here's
personalized, but what if I personally want a gift card for Christmas from Grandma and Grandpa?
No.
That's as personalized as it gets.
So, not to tell on Brandon, but I'm going to tell on Brandon. Last Christmas, I witnessed one of our coworkers give Brandon a Christmas card, and he opened it, he read it, told the coworker thank you, and as soon as she walked away, he threw it away.
Yeah.
And he was like, where's the gift card?
That's not a...
I saw him do that. I'm like, what are you doing? And he's like, what? I read it.
Yeah.
She's gone.
Yeah. What am I going to do with it?
But
hey, thank you for your thoughts around the holidays. It's very nice.
But you can tell if someone thought about the gift and thought about you, or if I could just interchange the gift with somebody else. I mean,
what about a regift?
Oh, totally. That's living green. If I regift,
I totally regift things.
Yeah.
But you gave me a dirty look yesterday when I insinuated that I might not be bringing in candied pecans. You were like, are you bringing those in? Like a thoughtful, heartfelt, all those people who are stocking up the butter, get those Christmas cookie recipes out. And I think a thoughtful, home baked gift is really nice.
Yeah. I'm down with that. Well, by the way,
of course you are.
So here, and I get the thing with sweet foods. I'm not a big fan of sweet food. I don't eat a lot of sweet food.
Oh,
he said, as long as the Christmas cookie, I pick it up and underneath is a CC's gift card, I'm good.
No, I just don't eat a lot. Listen, this girlish figure does not happen by accident. So I don't eat a lot of sweet food.
Do we need to talk about the Christmas cookie platter from last year?
That was a couple years ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah, oh yeah, I munched down on. Now, there are exceptions. Oh my gosh, all of a sudden I'm forgetting, is it Jim's former athletic director at Mizzou, who now does a lot of charitable work in Columbia? Jim Sturk.
Sturk.
And
Right.
his wife, and all of a sudden, gosh, I hope they don't get mad, but Rocky is the wife's name?
Are you thinking of Mike Alden?
Yes,
Maybe?
Mike
yes,
Alden.
yes,
Mike,
yes,
yeah,
yes.
Mike
Mike
Alden.
Alden,
Yeah, Mike Alden.
We'll get there eventually.
Mike Alden will come by every. Oh, by the way, Gary Pinkel going in the College Football Hall of Fame. He's hanging out with us here in studio tomorrow on Wake Up Mid Missouri, 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. But Rocky Alden, she makes like some peanut butter chocolate ball thing, and they're like every
They're
year.
like Buckeyes, right?
Yeah, they're incredible. I saw Mike Alden at the big thing for our regional airport. When we did
And Rocky judged the homecoming parade with us.
Oh yeah, Rocky was hanging. I said, Rocky, so Stephanie and I are emceeing the parade, the homecoming parade. We're like, man, you got to get us those things. And
awesome.
Producer Hannah's mom brought in this tray of stuff, and I think it was the peanut butter balls that I devoured.
And the chocolate chip cookies.
Yeah.
And I think some sugar cookies. But he was standing there talking to my mom, telling her that he doesn't usually like sweets very much.
Yeah.
And I'm not even exaggerating. I think you ate 4 cookies just while you were talking to my mom.
Oh, Hannah, producer Hannah's mom is a phenomenal cook. At least when it comes to baked goods, it was good stuff.
I didn't realize that about Alden in Rocky with the the sweets. That sounds awesome.
Aaron brings up a good point on the texter, 874-9390. He is reminding us of your Magnum ice cream kick for a while there.
So I ate a lot of sweet food when I quit drinking because guess what there's a lot of in booze?
Sugar.
And so when you quit drinking all of a sudden and your body's not getting that sugar, it's like, whoa. I was just in the ice cream alone. This is embarrassing. So these Magnum ice creams, like the Magnum ice cream bar, incredible creamy ice cream. It's just completely coated in chocolate caramel swirl. I think it was 1,400 calories per container.
Was it the bars or was it the pints?
The pints.
You brought one in for me, and you could push crunch it up, crunch the chocolate shell. It was really delicious.
Yeah, you take this container and you just squeeze the container and it crunches the chocolate shell for you, and it's only 1,400 calories a pint.
And like $8.
Yeah, kind of expensive.
Well, that was last year. It's probably $10 this year.
So I was eating 2 of those every night for like several months, it seemed like.
Wouldn't you make a sundae with like the Magnum ice cream bars and you'd mix it into the pint? Weren't you doing that? You were getting creative.
Here's the other fun. Man.
Nancy Pelosi with her fancy ice cream freezer.
Do you need to disclose that this segment is sponsored by Magnum Ice Cream?
Magnum Ice Cream. Check your local retailers in the freezer section.
Was that a conscious choice? Was it just during the holidays, or was it?
This was after I quit drinking.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like the first few months, I think.
Yeah, and it was, it was. Ooh.
Because we've been talking about, or we've been teasing what people are consciously not doing for the holidays.
We just give up this time of year. Lose weight, exercise. Not even gonna pretend. Not even gonna try.
I'll start that January 1.
Exactly, Marsh. You there? It's like, it's the hot, and everybody's bringing you. It's just like people don't even try, with the exception of the young lady who sits to my left. If you're watching on our YouTube channel, she's actually to the right. Stephanie Bell, kind of considering the time of year, kind of prolific undertaking. What'd you do?
Well, I didn't do a very good job, but my girlfriend and I in November were like, hey, we're gonna do better and check these lists off, and it went south in a hurry.
And what was it? Dieting, exercising?
Yeah, it was like exercising and drinking more water and
November.
Yeah, and it didn't go very well. And now that it's just like about to be December, I'm like, oh, I could try again in December, and I'm like, maybe that could wait till January.
This is like if you're sitting around with the family, John, there at the fireplace, and you're playing Monopoly, and your youngest grandchild draws the get out of jail free card. That's what November and December are. They listen, don't worry about eating healthy and exercising and all that. No, I still exercise and still try to eat healthy. I eat
still go to the gym all the time, every day with all my free time. Me too. Yeah, after my 13-hour day, I definitely go to the gym.
How did you do with your weight loss?
I mean, I didn't gain any weight, but I didn't lose any weight. I guess that's a win.
Yeah, you didn't gain. You're the eternal optimist.
Yeah. No, I mean, I feel like I'm getting old, right? So it's getting harder to lose weight. And I feel like next year I have a big birthday. And so it kind of like
25?
Yeah, right? You kind of want to like look hot on your, you don't want to turn like a big birthday and be like, oh, I've let myself go. So I feel a lot of pressure about that. But, also we all live busy lives. And I think around the holidays, beyond like Thanksgiving meals, right? Like, I mean, you and I have been on the charity circuit and we're about to be on the holiday party circuit. And it's harder when you're, on the go and at all these events. You don't want to be a fuddy-duddy and be at an event and be like, I'm going to eat salad when the cheesecake is sitting on the table in front of you.
Well, and that's how I think people make it. It's tough because, and it's not just that it's sweets, because I really am. I eat very few sweets. I really do. But that's what people bake and they bring it to you. And it's like, I guess it's not realistic to expect people, hey, can you bring like broccoli?
Gross.
I'm not guessing.
In fact, I think I'd be upset if somebody brought us broccoli here in the studio.
Imagine former Mizzou athletic director Mike Alden's wife, Rocky, instead of bringing us the peanut butter things that she brings in, if she brought us a tray of fresh broccoli and Stephanie's favorite dipping sauce, the ranch dipping sauce. Man, some carrot sticks. See that? I could get on board with. But I think the other thing is...
Are you okay?
Losing... is that something about when food is free?
Yes, I still have that. It's like a leftover young people college thing.
You agree, Marsh? It's like, okay, I don't like sweet foods, but since Hannah's mama brought it, it's free.
Or like airport lounges. Like I could have just eaten lunch, but if I'm in an airport lounge and there's like a buffet, I feel like, well, I have to get my money's worth. Around this time, this was the best ever. Around this time for Truman Finals, they always let you swipe your card and it didn't cost anything extra. And in the evening, they would have cake donut bars and they would just have trays of cake donuts with icing and all the toppings and you could kind of make your own cake donuts.
Wow.
And every time around this year, I'm like, you know what I could use on a late night study, when I'm working all night is like a cake donut bar.
Listen, I've gotten strawberry cheesecake ice cream and then I've gotten the strawberry donuts. And I've crumbled the donuts up into the strawberry cheesecake ice cream. We got to move forward, but first want to chat with Timothy at 874-9390. What's up, bud?
I think they're going to make a broccoli that's dipped in chocolate for the nutrition. But my mom used to, she'd build cookies and candies and Martha Washington, old fashions. Oh, my God, it was crazy at the Christmas time. But that's why I got had to watch my weight today,
Amen. How old are you, Timothy?
I'll be 65 December 1st.
Let me ask you this. So I seriously do try to eat healthy, try to work out as much as I can. As you get older, if you stay busy, are you still finding it hard to keep your weight at least at a decent level?
It gets harder as you get older. And plus I've got some knee issues. I've had knee surgery, so it's just getting harder and harder, yes.
Timothy, thank you for being a part of Wake Up Mid-Missouri here on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS.
But my husband said I dreamed, and now it's here.
Bauer.
It's been here the whole time.
Bauer. There was a Sergius Bauer connected with Alice Alquist. He was...
Mrs. Anton, your husband and Sergius Bauer are one and the same person. And this letter from Sergius Bauer to Alice Alquist was written 2 days before her murder.
But he said there wasn't any letter. He said I was going out of my mind.
Not going out of your mind. You're slowly and systematically being driven out of your mind.
Why? Why?
Perhaps because you found this letter know too much.
Crazy movie. I've never seen it. I am familiar with it.
It sounds old.
It is very old. I think it's older than Marsh. The movie centers around this husband who basically he makes his wife in an effort to get her inheritance or whatever. He makes her think that she's going crazy. He hides stuff on her and is doing all this crazy stuff. And they live in this house, and it's I think it's heated by gaslight lamp, something like that. Somebody can correct us on it. But every time this guy would leave the house, the gas lights they would flicker, and this guy was able to slowly, over a period of time, make this woman think she was crazy. Now, prior to the movie Gaslight coming out, and I think it was early mid-40s, something like that, there was no such phrase as gaslight. But the name of the movie was Gaslight because of the gaslights that were featured prominently whenever the dude who was trying to make the chick think she was going crazy, every time he'd leave the house, the lights would flicker. The movie was called Gaslight. And now, so not only is it a movie from some almost 80 years ago, oh my gosh, now it happens to be the word of the year. Gaslight. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary.
And I think people use it incorrectly because
Yes.
I'm confused about what it means because people use it like completely out of correct grammar, I think.
It's one of my biggest pet peeves. Like, I have a list of words that people misuse just because they think it's kind of a blanket statement, and gaslight is the top of the list.
I like when somebody says, let's say, for example, we get some snow and somebody says, we literally got a foot of snow when you got 6 inches of snow. No, that's not literally. You're speaking in literally, figuratively is the one that gets me. But gaslight, to manipulate somebody by psychological means into questioning their own sanity. And Merriam-Webster says the weird thing is there was really nothing. So because of increased searches on the internet and everything, they're making it the word of the year. And they say usually there's something, for example, the word of the year before that was vaccine. The word of the year before that, I don't remember if it was COVID or lockdown or whatever it was. But usually there is some specific event that will set, hey, this is why this is the word of the year. Merriam-Webster says there's really nothing that we could find as it relates to this.
Quiet quitting. It's not a new word.
Quiet quitting. It could be up there. It's in the running for Word of the Year 2023. Coming up, the media hypocrisy as it relates to what's happening in China. What's happening in China? COVID lockdowns, and people are protesting. We'll have some of that coming up for you here at 8:10 on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS.
As a physician, it's really counterintuitive to me. You think you're going to go in and hide, and the virus is going to run away. No, the virus is just going to sit there until you come back out again. It's vaccination and it is natural immunity that's going to make things go away.
What we're learning is that the people of China are human beings. Human beings don't like to be locked up. They don't like to be told they can't go out, they can't go to work, they can't socialize, they can't go see family members, they can't go to the entertainment and have fun for long periods of time by their government.
Senator Marco Rubio, before that, Representative Jason Johnson, I think is the guy's name. But they're talking about the protest happening in China. China's clamping down, again, locking people up. They're already building like these camps where they're going to go and take people and remove them from their homes and put them into these I guess, isolationist camps to make sure they don't spread the COVID. You know, let it go through. Let it do it. Sometimes bad things happen. I don't mean to sound callous, but geez, let's be done with this. But what I find even more remarkable about what's happening in China, and to understand how they live life there, I don't know unless, and I've never lived there, maybe don't have a real life comprehension of what it's really like, and the things that you can and can't do. Some of the very smallest, most simplest things of life. I mean, we saw what happened, for example, in Colombia and what they did to businesses. Not that much unlike what they're doing in China. It's really not. It really is. It's not an exaggeration. It's not a conservative talking point. It is about just dang near a fact. That's what they did in Colombia. But they're telling you can't go out. You can't do this. You can't do that. You can't do any of this. But what I think is more fascinating about this is the way that the national news outlets are reacting to this story. Because remember, if I went out into public and didn't want to wear a mask, I was incredible. I was what's one of those words when you do something that people, they disagree with what you're doing, so they go for an easy word like, you're a fascist. Words like that. Or you're a bigot. You're a snowflake. Yeah, words like that. That's what they would do. They couldn't believe, they were astounded the idea that you would protest mask mandates. They were, the CNNs and the USA Today's and MSNBC's, astounded that you didn't want to get a vaccine, just amazed that you would want to go to a restaurant and live your life knowing what risk could be involved. They were, how could you do that? But now, for example, Jim Sciutto, CNN, check him out.
In many cases, when you look at the protests, they're not small and isolated. They are often involving hundreds of people out in public places, as Selena mentioned, with their masks off, allows them to be easily identified. And that is an act of courage in this country, because this is a country that tracks.
That's an act of courage. Differences between China and the United States understood. Those protesters going out without their masks and protesting, that's courage. When we did it here, we were fascist and bigots and selfish. That's the friggin' national news outlets, man. That's courage. But here you're fascist.
Ultra MAGA.
Ultra MAGA, man. They put names to it. Are these people? Wow. And it doesn't. Oh, and here's Justin Trudeau, actually. He's the Prime Minister of Canada. Remember the very important protest when it came to the truckers, the border, and all that stuff. So Justin Trudeau saying, hey, man, I applaud the protests that are happening in China. Just days ago, he's doing some kind of event, and he was talking about the protest that happened in Canada when the pandemic was happening.
Using protests to demand changes to public policy is something that I think is worrisome.
A few days ago, public protest against, that's worrisome. People of China, by the way, Justin, they're protesting for the freedom. Oh, that's wonderful. We applaud that. Just don't do it here in my country because I'm clamped down. I got some leverage over my people here because I'm in charge, man.
Well, and I think, I think China is, just behind us basically on a lot of this stuff. But I think in America here, I think when it first started and they said, hey, 2 weeks to slow the spread, right? And we were all like, okay, we don't really know what's going on. We can agree. That sounds reasonable. And I think we didn't have enough information. And you have to remember, in China, they're not getting all of the information. They can't just open up their phone and find stuff out. So I think there's been a delay. But then once we started getting full information about we're not really sure about the virus. We're not really sure about the 6 feet. We're not really sure about this. I mean, that appears to be what's happening in China, is that the rules and they're starting to get more information, and the rules about when you can leave and when you have to isolate and when you have to test, it's all kind of getting more wishy-washy over there. And they're like, you know what? I'm tired of this. And if there aren't clear rules, how am I supposed to abide anyway? And guess what? I'm not going to burn alive in a building because you've locked me in there. And I think, the information coming out about that fire and how many people actually died and what caused, the people, to not be able to get help, I think is terrifying. And if I would have watched my neighbors and my fellow citizens, be forced die because the country is locking us down, I would be in the streets too.
Or just give people, here, listen, here's the info. Go out and live your life. You might die, you might not. Here's the keys to the car. Go out and drive down 63 and then hit 54 and go to you might die or you might not. Here, why don't you buy a plane ticket to go monitor the Georgia elections coming up 1 week from today, which Stephanie Bell is going to be doing. Here's the risk. Here's your plane ticket. Do it. You might die. You might not. Well, I say with COVID, it's crazy. And then it doesn't stop there. I want to go back to some of the hypocrisy of our national news outlets. I know people like to, the mainstream media, but our national news outlets. I always like to give specific examples. Here's a report, and I'm going to stereotype a little bit here if nobody's going to be offended. Brian Houseworth, are you going to be offended if I stereotype a little bit?
Without hearing it, I'd say go ahead and do what you got to do.
Well, thank you. Marsh, you good? All right. That's a no vote for Marsh. Hannah, are you okay if I stereotype here a little bit?
You don't listen to me anyways.
What? Stephanie.
I'd like to hear it first.
All right. What? You want to hear it first?
Before I agree to whatever you're about to say.
So there's this reporter in the White House, and she's got even though I'm watching her on the TV, I could smell the patchouli coming through the TV. But she just got that look. Gary Nolan's show does Gary the Liberal from time to time, and it's Gary taking opposite. But he talks like electric cars are going to be the saviors of our country.
This sounds a lot like your Carl Scala impression.
Exactly. You're exactly right. This woman is Carl Scala. Let's call her Carla Scala. Carl Scala, former city councilman. Lost in a do-over election on a citywide level, and that's a good reminder. That race, this guy, Carla Scala, longtime city councilman, like 12 years or something, tie vote, 2,400 votes cast in that election earlier this year, dead tie. August. They had a do-over, and this is the one where the self-professed black, gay, cross-dressing hairdresser beat that guy. That dude got out-woke. So this reporter, she's like Carl Scala, and she's asking, she's wigged out about Twitter. With somebody on, I think it was Chris Hayes on MSNBC talking about Twitter. I can't believe how wrapped up in this Elon Musk buying, how they get so spun out of control about this. But Chris Hayes on MSNBC said, Elon Musk buying Twitter and what's happening now with Twitter, these are my worst fears coming true. Your worst fear in life, your very worst fear is that Elon Musk was going to buy Twitter and somebody was going to post an opinion that you might disagree with. That is your worst fear in life? My worst fear is that I'll drink or that I won't be here for my grandkids. What's your worst fear in life?
Dying alone.
Yeah. Brian, what's the thing you fear the most?
Health issues, probably.
Yeah. Producer Hannah, what's your biggest fear?
Those around me, like being hurt or dying.
Yeah. Marsh? Yeah. We have these real fears. And MSNBC and CNN, their worst fears, the nightmares come true. You can use Twitter for free speech. These people are losing their minds. And by the way, we see a lot of politicians locally that have that same mindset, man. So this reporter, does that paint the picture of this reporter? Have we
Is
painted...
their worst fear about pickleball? That's what I needed.
So this reporter, she's asking the White House press spokesperson, Karine Jean-Pierre.
Researcher at
Audio's not the best, but I think you'll hear she says, hey, what, Twitter.
Researcher at Stanford who says that this is a critical moment, really, in terms of ensuring that Twitter does not become a vector for misinformation. I mean, are you concerned about...
By the way, so when progressive liberals, people like, whether it's Carla Scala, Pat Fowler, whether it's this reporter, whether it's Joe Biden, whether it's people like that, when they say a vector of misinformation to them, if you looked at the progressive liberal dictionary, misinformation, you look at the definition, thoughts that disagree with the thoughts that I have. That's what she means by that.
Elon Musk says there's more and more subscribers coming online. Are you concerned about that? And what tools do you have? Who is it at the White House that is really keeping track of this?
Who? Who is going to be keeping track of that stuff?
Wandering is really quite ferocious. It's when a huckster takes some lies and makes them sound
Nina
precocious.
Jankowicz, remember the whole disinformation board? So that reporter, if I heard her right, I'll defer to Marsh and the other journalist here in the room. They have more subscribers and more people are getting on the Twitter. And what I hear her saying is, how are we going to clamp down on free speech? I swear to God, that's what that woman is asking. How are we going to clamp down on freedom of speech? How are we going to do this? That's what I hear.
I didn't understand the question. It would have been nice to hear her mic'd up, but still, I understand what you're saying. They are, well.
I put you in some really uncomfortable situations, don't I, Brian?
That particular reporter clearly doesn't like Musk. I think that's fair to say.
She is saying, Marcia, am I too far off base? She is saying, what are you going to do to clamp down on freedom of speech? Yeah, insane. By the way, tomorrow on the show, Gary Pinkel will be here about this time, former longtime Mizzou coach. And I always got to say this about him because I was one of those first on the wagon whenever the thing with the players, Concerned Student 1950 and Melissa Click. He did not. It was something about and I can't even remember exactly now, but it was a tweet on how he supported his players as it related to Concerned Student 1950, and that is absolutely not what happened. He's going into the College Football Hall of Fame. Wanted to come by here, so he's going to be here tomorrow on 93.9 The Eagle and 104.5 News Radio 950 KWOS. Did I introduce everybody yet? Kind of? No? At least in this segment. Producer Hannah and Brian, John, Steph, I'm Brandon. Coming up, morning, pal. Business news, little twist only Stephanie Bell can give you. What do you have for us today?
Well, I was going to say we haven't talked about Elon in a while, but there's more. There's more.
Hello, it is 8:26. Time for the Morning Bell Business News. Little twists that only Stephanie Bell can give you.
I have been fangirling over Elon for years.
You have, and I love it, and I appreciate your honesty about it.
And a couple weeks ago, I tweeted out, because there was all the drama over the blue check. And I tweeted out.
And the blue check, for people, if you don't know about the blue check on Twitter.
It's verification. It's supposed to say, like, you are who you say you are. You're important. You're a liberal journalist. I don't know. And so, and whether or not you could pay for the blue check, blah, blah, blah. And I said, easy win for Elon Musk. Color changing check. I said, let the liberals have their blue check. I'd pay extra for a red check. And I thought that was clever.
Yeah, that is. And you did that.
Yeah, this was about 2 weeks ago. And earlier this week, Elon announced color changing checks. And he said, sorry for the delay. He didn't put my name in there. He didn't say sorry for the delay, Stephanie. But he said,
it's implied.
It is. He said, sorry for the delay, but we're tentatively launching verified on Friday, this Friday. Gold checks for companies, gray checks for government, blue for individuals. And all accounts will be manually verified. So the verification system continues to evolve. So far, I guess he took my idea and kind of ran with it. So we're not getting a red check, but different colored checks is on the list.
It's a fist
for Friday.
bump, bud.
Right?
Good work, Steph.
Also, in other Elon news, he did announce, and the guy's a genius. I mean, he really is. And we had to do an Elon update today because if I go to Fox Business, okay, and I look, he is the top story, and his top story is for eliminating the COVID misinformation rules on Twitter. So now you can basically say whatever the heck you want about COVID on Twitter. You can also, and he's also, I guess, giving some accounts their rights back, especially folks who were originally banned for violating the COVID misinformation rules. But I think he has 4 of the top stories on Fox Business himself, right? Yeah. And so you think about, anybody in business, and you think about paid media versus earned media, and the guy is a media genius. I mean, he's in the headlines. It's almost the media obsession with Elon almost reminds me of the early obsession with Trump, where the guy was just a media genius. You heard about him every day, all day long. And now it's mostly focused on Twitter, but there's still some SpaceX and some other stuff going on. Apparently one of the articles, Ireland courts told him he can't fire somebody he tried to fire, but she is locked out. So she's not going to work every day, but apparently they've said, yeah, you can't fire her. She never actually signed the severance package. Can you imagine being fired? Anyway, so he's got some legal trouble, but that's not the headline. The headline is, hey, COVID's over, liberals are melting down. But I think he's playing chess. The rest of us are playing checkers, and I think he's going to rule the world.
And he got some more unpaid media attention over the weekend. Alyssa Milano, the actress, gloated on Twitter, incidentally. I got rid of my Tesla because screw Elon Musk and all that, and replaced it with a Volkswagen, which was founded by Hitler, basically. And fortunately, people on Twitter were kind enough to let her know, hey, you know who founded Volkswagen, right, Alyssa? You dummy. We might open up. We got a lot of stuff here in the mailbag. Maybe we'll do that about 5 minutes from now here on Wake Up Mid-Missouri.
People might think that it's odd for an organization that's located out in Kingdom City to be participating in Como Gives, but we're participating because a majority of our clients come from the central Missouri area.
Deanna Barger, she is with the Missouri Girls Town, chatting with KOMU Channel 8, Giving Tuesday all across Missouri. Appreciate those efforts. And if you're looking to give, because I know this time of year, either you're asked or a lot of people that just get filled with that, for lack of a better word, they get filled with the spirit. I want to do, as bad as things have been since the tragic events of January the 20th of 2021, I want to do something for other people. I want to help other people. And people are like, what do I do? Where do I go? How do I know this charity? Here's what I would do if I were you. Go to the websites, KWOS.com or 939theeagle.com. It's a holiday wish with Hibbett Sports. Love Columbia and Common Ground. Jefferson City. Just trying to help folks have a decent holiday season. So if you know somebody who is struggling, just tell us what's going on and how we can help. It's not, and by the way, it's not always just, the money and the food or even Christmas gifts. Sometimes it's transportation. One of the stories last year, don't tell anybody, that brought tears to mind was this grandmother who just wanted to go see her grandchild for the first time ever. And because of circumstances that I'll assume were created by the events of January the 20th, of 2021. She couldn't do it. And folks heard that. They got onto the websites, KWOS.com, 939theeagle.com. And all you have to do is you just go and you click a button that says Submit Your Wish Here. It's brought to you in part by D. Rose and Missouri Vein Care.
Yeah, we're very fortunate, and I think it's great. I'm glad we're doing that. I encourage everybody to take a look at that. Girlstown does a wonderful job, and it won't be too long. The one-for-one food drive will be coming up that the radio station Zimmer and the Eagle will be involved in, so that's good. Good to hear. This is Wake Up Mid-Missouri. There is Stephanie Bell.
Good morning.
It's Mr. Brian Houseworth.
Good morning, sir.
Producer Hannah is here.
Hello.
My name is Branden Rathert. You can reach out and text us, or you can reach out and call us 874-9390, 874-9390. By the way, tomorrow on the show, Gary Pinkel is here. And also coming up, this was supposed to happen a couple of weeks ago. Vlad Sajin, kid from Ukraine, goes to school at Mizzou. He's coming in. He's going to be here on Thursday on the show. Sit down with us and tell us a story from a kid. Imagine waking up every day. Let's say you're in some other country. Let's say you're in Europe, and you're there, and things start going crazy in America, and the homeland is in war, and you don't know whether or not you're going to be able to get them on cell service that day because you don't know if cell towers have been taken out. And then meanwhile, trying to live your life as a college student while you've got that happening several thousand miles away, but yet right there in your mind. I can't imagine what that's like. He is going to be here Thursday on the show.
Letters.
All right, let's do our mailbag.
I get letters.
We don't get any letters.
So many
Seen
letters.
any interesting texts?
I like the one from Ken.
Ken's got some interesting stuff.
Read mail from a cow.
And we've never received mail from a cow. But we do get text 874-9390. Did I introduce John Marsh? I feel like I'm forgetting somebody.
I think you forgot John.
John, I'm sorry, buddy. Oh, yeah. We love you just the same. All right. The Wake Up Mid-Missouri mailbag. Most of our stuff comes via text, 874-9390. And always dig it whenever you send us something and get to include it in the show. Here in the mailbag, we're digging into the mailbag this morning. And you said you saw what's interesting about this one.
Well, Ken said maybe we should get on board with changing the color red back to the left like the rest of the planet. And I've heard this before, and I was in some museum, and I remember that, in my mind, it's just Republicans red has always been the Republican color, but it really has only been like that way since basically Bush v. Gore. And it has to do with the election being prolonged and the TV stations putting up the maps. And they actually asked one of the senior graphics editor at the New York Times, hey, why did you do red, this way? He said, well, for me, it was just easy to remember. R is red, R is Republican. And so I did it that way. But if you go back and look historically at the charts, for example, like Ford and Carter, they were flip-flopped essentially, and they said the reason for that is because it was modeled after Great Britain's political system, where the Liberal Party is typically associated with blue. Well, I guess that one's the same. Anyway, they have been flip-flopped, and they used to go, essentially they used to go back and forth, and so sometimes it'd be the other way, and they just, and there wasn't any rhyme or reason, but now it's pretty much stuck. Yep. But Ken points out that is different than the rest of the world, and so for the rest of the world, usually it's the other way around, and if the liberal side is red and the more conservative side is blue. And I've heard that before.
Fascinating. Ken, thank you for that text. Jack checking in, dropping some stuff off here in the mailbag earlier this morning. We got it, and I don't know how we got there, Christmas gifts. And one of the things that Stephanie likes to do for Christmas gifts, and I hope I didn't come off that, I didn't mean to, but I was just like, but Stephanie has certain types of gifts that she likes to give.
Well, sometimes if I have people that I struggle to give them gifts, I will make a donation of something that's personalized to them.
See,
or a stone or
right.
a rock, one of those commemorative rocks.
Like a brick at the Children's Hospital or at the park in Jefferson City.
Yeah, and I think people who appreciate history and those kinds of things, I mean, it's going to be there forever. And our kids will grow up and they will be able to go to the Southern Boone YMCA and see their names and our names on a rock and remember that we helped make it happen in a very teeny tiny way.
I think that's cool.
Yeah. And I have a brick. My parents did a brick for me at Truman State for the science building. And every time we're back on campus, and it even has my maiden name, but we go and it's huge. And we look for a really long time. But I have a picture with all the kids' feet right there with my named brick. I think that's beautiful.
That's cool, but just don't. Hey, here's a charity. Now I will say, whenever there's a funeral, and I love when people say, "Hey, don't send flowers. What the hell are we going to do with all these flowers, man?" I get it. You're sad for our loss. That's cool. But flowers ain't going to help, by the way. Not going to make me feel better. And I get that you're thinking of us. But if you really want to think of us, why don't you make a donation? Instead of buying flowers. Now, I don't think the floral industry is on board with this program. But that's great.
And I push back a little bit on that. For the funeral, I understand, but I will say I've landed on the best gift for moms and mother-in-laws who have to host family dinners. We get a big floral arrangement, like one of those table ones, because we're we could bring a dish or we could decorate your table with this gorgeous floral arrangement. I got a personalized call. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So if you haven't done that and you're struggling, get a floral arrangement delivered before the big holiday meal. You will be the all-star, I promise.
There's just something about having fresh flowers in your house that I really appreciate. I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's let's be honest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's be honest. Every woman loves getting flowers at work.
Not true.
Apparently, according to Brandon, not dead ladies.
Well, it's if you get flowers at work, it's a little bit of a flex, right?
Yeah, it's all because all the oh my God, look, producer Hannah's fiance sent some flowers, and all the girls they do. Yeah, it's
the thing. It's the thing that no woman wants to say out loud. But let's be honest.
Yeah.
It does happens. Make you feel very special.
It does.
And it is all about it is. I think it's more that look what I got. It's not about the flowers. It's that grandiose feeling you get because the other chicks in the office ain't get no flowers. I think that's what it's.
Have you ever gotten flowers at work, Brandon? Has anybody ever sent you flowers?
Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
You got a really nice plant when, was it your stepmother passed away years ago?
Oh, yeah. Lauren Hauser, I think, got me a plant.
Well, I think the company got you a plant, and you did not take very good care of it.
Well, I took it home and, I watered it. And apparently, I think I watered it too much was the problem. So then
I think you drowned it and burnt it at the same time, which is really talented.
Yeah. So Jack, via text 874-9390, reminded us about this when you make a Christmas gift, but you say, here, I've donated some money to a charity in your name. There was a great epic Seinfeld episode of Seinfeld that covered this. This is George and Jerry sitting at the dining table, and George opens up a Christmas gift from a rich dentist and is disappointed by what he finds.
You seen me? Nope. Something from Watley.
See? You give and you get. This is what I'm trying to teach you.
This holiday season, a donation has been made in your name To the Children's Alliance.
Oh, that's nice.
I got him Yankee tickets. He got me a piece of paper saying I've given your gift to someone else.
I know it was great seeing Jack. Thank you for the reminder on that.
But today is Giving Tuesday, so you're going to get a lot of solicitations, and there's a lot in your email. I've already gotten several, but there are a lot of really worthwhile charities here in Columbia. And one thing that we know from this year is that those folks who are helping others are being asked for more and more and more, and folks are less able to donate this year than ever before. So if you are able to give today, it's a good day to do it.
Yeah, and so there are going to be people. They are going to be asking, and it's totally legit. I want to go back to something that happened earlier on the show this morning. 6:35. Chris Arps is here. He's got a website. Phil's filled in for Gary Nolan last week, but one of our pieces of bumper music. And we came out, great piece of music. Chris even commented on it. Man, I dig the music. And said, yeah, that's Godsmack. And we got a text from listener, Jeff. And Hannah, I guess, said you'd never heard or you knew of one Godsmack song?
Yeah, and it was the song that was currently playing.
Jeff says, tell Hannah, I used to know the drummer from Godsmack. His name was Shannon. Back then, he was really heavy metal band called Wrathchild. He used to follow them around, or we used to follow them around D.C., Baltimore, Maryland, West Virginia. Can't believe now the guy is a famous rock star. And this from a listener by the name of Austin, which I didn't know this was an issue, actually. But we always appreciate feedback. We really, really do. As a matter of fact, Hannah, you know what it's almost time for? It's almost time, speaking of Seinfeld, it's almost time for our annual Festivus show.
Oh, are we doing that again this year?
Every year we say that, and John, you know how this works. We'll spend the show. That's right. And we go around and we air our grievances with each other here on the show. But usually is what happens is listeners just air their grievances with us.
And Houseworth always sits out because he's too nice.
He will never even pick a loser of the week. He for sure will not air any grievances. But I do like Austin's text, especially as we are going to get into the audience's grievances. But he says, hey, Brandon, I think the show is improving, and I am enjoying it more.
So at first, and Austin, what a nice text, John, because he compliments John and Brian, producer Hannah and Stephanie. But I think the show is improving, which you should always be improving. I mean, even the best continual improvement. We're always improving. Even Patrick Mahomes, who's we learned overnight, has become a father for a second time. What's the baby's name? Bronze, I think is the baby's name.
Yes. That's his nickname, yeah.
Nickname. Even Patrick Mahomes has a coach. Even he's working on improving. So, yeah, all about continual improvement. So when I first read this, I think the show is improving. I'm almost like, I'm not taking that as a compliment.
It's kind of like a backhanded compliment. Like, hey, you're getting better. Yeah. But he says and you're welcome to give me a call if you would like some feedback.
Sure.
It sounds like he has some grievances to air. I appreciate that, though. But he does say thanks all and all the effort to get an enjoyable, informative, entertaining, and local morning show. Thanks, Austin. That's sweet.
That's pretty cool. Austin, we expect you to call in when we do our Festivus show. If you're not familiar with Festivus, you can look it up. We just feats of strength. What was it instead of the Christmas tree, John? Aluminum pole. And then we air our grievances. We talk about what it is.
Here's a big old serving of leftovers. Enjoy.
All right, we open up our refrigerators and see what we have in the way of leftovers. Sometimes it's really good stuff, and sometimes it's, eggs from a couple of days ago, which you shouldn't be bringing eggs home as leftovers anyway from the Waffle House. And I think leftovers, we're going to do some stories, but we're getting some text regarding dudes who have received flowers before. I think Hannah asked me, she says, Branden, have you ever, because Stephanie loves sending flowers as gifts. And I think, was it you that asked that, have you ever, and yes, I said, do you not have received flowers before? It's kind of interesting. It's, because I like to flex as a guy. You know how when the girls in the office, they get flowers, that is, like you said, Hannah, there's that kind of that flex.
Yeah, it's
now,
whether you want to admit it or not, it's kind of nice. Yeah. It feels like a little bit of a show off.
But John, when you're a dude and you get flowers in the office, it is the feeling is complete and total polar opposite of that. Dave says, I had a girlfriend once. He said he would send her flowers a lot. One day when I went to her house to visit her, her dad, an uncle, approached me and said, you little SOB, you better quit that. You're getting us in trouble with our wives. Ted, my wife sent me flowers to my work. Problem is I worked in a local jail. Oh. Man. And Rebecca, thank you. She says, I'd rather have a couple dozen beers. Sorry.
Have you seen the beef jerky bouquets that are marketed for guys? It's like literally beef jerky sticks, and they have beef jerky flowers on top. You arrange it like a bouquet.
Emmy says her uncle's funeral, like the R.J. Reynolds, the tobacco company, sent flowers or plants. Wow. Marsh, you got anything for leftovers? Yeah.
I actually had fraud on my central bank account yesterday.
Yikes. Really?
I did, yeah. It was a $19 charge.
What for?
It was for a Muslim women's organization. Said I had made a donation.
Oops. Like to the Human Fund.
Yeah, right.
Did you make it at least in somebody's name and say, hey, look what I got you. I got you a Christmas gift. I donated money to some other thing.
They're pretty good about taking care of that. So keep an eye on your card. Also, the Supreme Court is looking at Biden's policy with regard to immigration today. Interesting take on executive power and what you can do there in enforcing immigration law.
Tomorrow on the show, Gary Pinkel, Hall of Fame college football coach, getting inducted into the HOF. He's going to hang out with us tomorrow here in studio. Gary Nolan's show is next. See ya.
Bye.